Our Ray Strickland spoke to the woman's attorney, who says this proves an institutional problem at the jail that needs to be fixed.
They don't even care that they're being video recorded.
The video starts with Cuyahoga County Jail Corrections Officer Robert Marsh bringing in a restraint chair. Investigators say another corrections officer, Idris Fareed Clark, is seen shaking a can of pepper foam before Marsh escorts Chantel Glass out of her cell. Glass appears to be calm. She then sits down as Marsh straps her in. But as she's tilted back, her leg kicks up, and that's when things take a turn. Police say Marsh jumps and punches Glass in the face, and a second later, Clark sprays nearly an entire can of pepper foam directly into her eyes. Glass's attorney, Subodh Chandra, described it as torture.
I don't think there's any other way to describe what we see happen on the video other than as a ritual of torture.
Chandra says Glass was then returned to her cell and not allowed to shower for at least a day.
She continued to feel the burn of pepper spray in her skin, in her hair, in her eyes for an extended period of time.
Chandra says this all started because Glass wanted to make a phone call.
There's simply nothing that Chantel Glass could have done that would justify leading her into a room and torturing her.
This video comes after the U.S. Marshal Service released a scathing report detailing various issues at the jail, including poor treatment of inmates. Chandra says this video further proves there's a culture problem at the jail.
It appears that the officers involved and those that were participating all knew what was going to happen. They all anticipated it, none of them were bothered by it, and it looked like a scene that may have played out many, many times before.
Now, Marsh and Clark were charged in April for their role in this incident. They have both pleaded not guilty. The two have a pretrial hearing scheduled for June 10th, and we reached out to the county to get a comment on this, but Russ, I was told they do not discuss ongoing investigations.
Okay, Ray Strickland, thank you. Today, survivors in some of the nation's most infamous mass shootings spoke to students in Youngstown. Channel 3's Ray Strickland shares their story with us tonight.
5 different people, 5 different stories, yet the 5 have the same mission. Each of them have been affected by the world's ugliest of evils, mass shootings and hate crimes. But they've turned their pain into an unrelenting quest to make the world a much better place.
What's happening in this country right now, it's not normal.
One of them is Fred Guttenberg. He lost his daughter Jamie when a gunman shot and killed 17 people at a high school in Parkland, Florida, Valentine's Day last year.
I live with this image in my head of my daughter running down this hallway with an active shooter at her back.
Guttenberg was joined by 4 people affected by some of the nation's most high-profile tragedies, including survivors of shootings at Sandy Hook in Connecticut and Pulse nightclub in Orlando. They spoke to students and community members in Youngstown during a panel discussion called Surviving and Moving Forward, where they touched on topics of mental health and gun safety.
Because I am constantly aware of the suffering that my son caused.
Sue Klebold is the mother of one of the Columbine High School shooters whose son Dylan was suicidal. Mental health is important to her.
If we can create distance between a very disturbed person and a firearm when they are vulnerable, we can save lives.
But improving school security and the nation's gun laws are also something the group believes needs to be done.
We must talk about it and we must be honest about it.
An honest and brave conversation they're having in hopes to spark some type of change.
Everybody, as an American citizen, has a responsibility to stand up to hate.
That we're working to save your kids, your parents. It's important work and we're not going to stop doing it.
And I did speak to a Youngstown State University student who attended today's event. He says he's been inspired to step up and advocate on behalf of some of these issues, and that's what this group wants people to do: get inspired and get involved. Reporting in Youngstown, Ray Strickland, Channel 3 News.
Now to a Tree woman's battle to save a tree in her front yard. The woman says the city is trying to chop it down. Ray Strickland joins us live from Tremont tonight, and Ray, she says she's not going down without a fight.
Exactly, Tiffany. The tree, you can see it behind me here. It's the one with the ribbon on it. This woman says she is going to do whatever it takes to save it because she says the thought of it being gone is heartbreaking.
I've been told many times this tree is beautiful.
Tammy Layton says this tree in front of her house is special.
It's a sense of peace.
She planted it nearly 20 years ago.
In memory of my mom and dad who had passed away. They were very good people. worthy of remembrance.
The tree that kept her parents' memories alive, she says, is now at risk of becoming a memory itself. The city, she says, wants to cut it down.
It just grabbed my heart. It broke my heart.
So the reason Tammy's tree is at risk of being cut down is because of a streetscape project here on Clark Avenue. It's a project that's already claimed a tree here in front of her next door neighbor's house. Tammy was told hers was next on the chopping block, but she was determined to not let that happen.
I was willing to take myself to the tree.
That's what Tammy says she told workers when they came by in the morning.
And I said, well, no, you're not, because you're going to have to go through me. I just grabbed hold of the tree and I told them that they weren't cutting this tree down.
Because of that, the city says they will work with Tammy on a solution. She put this ribbon on the tree as a symbol of hope.
That's my "we won the day" ribbon.
A small victory, but she knows it's still a possibility the tree can get cut down. And she says if they decide to do it, you'll know where to find her.
So if I see a bunch of trucks pull up, I'm back out here wrapped around that tree.
Now, this construction project here on Clark Avenue also wants to replace water pipes, which means crews would have to cut open this tree line here. And it also means that they would have to cut the roots on Tammy's tree. Now, the city says that they will also send out a arborist to inspect the tree on Tuesday and to see if it would survive that. Tammy, she is just hoping it does. Live in Tremont, Ray Strickland, Channel 3 News.
Yeah, hopefully they work something out. Thanks, Ray.
I.M. Pei lived to the age of 102, and tonight Ray Strickland spoke with the local architect who worked with him on the Rock Hall.
I.M. Pei is described as one of the greatest architects of all time, a renowned creative genius whose career spanned more than 70 years. His work includes designing the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston and renovating the famous Louvre Museum in France.
I'm just glad I knew him.
Bob Madison met Pei for the first time at Harvard when Madison was an architecture student, but Madison says he got to know him even better when the two and other American architects visited China more than 40 years ago.
He was always gracious. He was always a gentleman.
It was that trip to China that led to a partnership in Cleveland, working together to design one of Pei's most famous projects, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
He said to me, "Wow, when they asked me to design the rock and roll," he said, "I know nothing about rock and roll music. What is that?" So he decided to go to some rock and roll concerts.
It's to be planned and built.
Madison says Pei going to the concerts inspired him to design a building similar to rock and roll music, which Madison describes as full of surprises.
If you look at this building, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame down here, you see coming out here a form that sits on a cylinder with into the ground, into the water. Over this side, you see a cantilever. And then you see this glass tint coming down here. That's rock and roll, explosive.
He says Pei had a creative mind that can't be duplicated.
And I.M. Pei had the skill, had the talent to create things that one would not think about.
Madison says his legacy will forever stand the test of time.
And Ray Strickland joins us live outside the Rock Hall now. So what is the plan to honor I.M. Pei's memory there, Ray?
So yeah, here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they plan to fly the flags here at half-staff to honor Pei's life. And Sarah, we're told that's going to be happening tomorrow.
Well, he certainly made a huge impact on Cleveland, and Mr. Madison is right. What a legacy. Thanks, Ray.